Today, we're going to talk about rapport building, one of my favorite things to talk about. So, all right. So, rapport building is about 80% of the sale, right? So, what is it? So, okay, I have a definition here, and it says it's a close and harmonious relationship in which people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. So, basically, this is going to be your relationship with the client. How you talk to them, how you converse, back and forth, just the type of bond that you build with them. Okay, now I do like exactly what I heard this morning. It's crazy because I think Bianca was in my head. If you were on the actual 7:30, the training, the Zoom, she said that the first 5 seconds is pretty much major, right? Well, I think it's the first 5 to 60 seconds. All that matters. From 5 to 60 seconds, you have to go ahead and explain the purpose of the call, right then and there. If you can't get out, if you're not quick, can't get out what you need to say, or why you're calling with the purpose, then yeah, it's a no. Okay. So the way I do it is I want to go ahead and just give an example. And confidence and tonality is everything. Okay. So I do it a little bit different. Everybody does it their own way. You got to find what's natural for you. But so if I'm making an outbound call, right? So say it's, I don't know, direct mail. Okay. So I'm gonna say, hey Kim, it's Rachel. Listen, I know you weren't expecting my call. And look, if you're anything like my mama, I know you normally don't even answer numbers you don't know. But I was just getting back to you about that postcard that you sent in, blah blah blah, right? So usually when I say something like that, hey Kim, it's Rachel. Listen, I know you weren't expecting my call. Telemarketers don't talk like that. You know what I mean? They're gonna go ahead and try to get into exactly probably what they're selling, what they're wanting to talk about. Usually with this, I just think that it calms people down. Most people can relate to, not answering numbers that they don't know, or, most of them they can agree. Hey, you're absolutely right. I saw this Mississippi number. I don't know anybody from Mississippi, and I almost didn't answer, but you called me twice. So I figured it was somebody that I knew, right? So when it comes to that, I definitely try to make it sound really, really natural. Most of the time, I like to make jokes about it. I make it real personal when I talk to people. I just try to be myself, to be honest. I may make jokes like, girl, I know what you mean, because I get those same car warranty calls. Girl, they call me for Medicaid and Medicare, stuff like that. And I'm not even old enough for Medicare. So we usually can, find something that we can kind of joke about, girl, I know it. And we get on into, the rest of the conversation of why I called. Now, when we're talking and building this rapport, y'all, we have to make sure that we're mirroring the client. All right. And what I mean by that is if the client speaks slower, then so should you. Okay. If they speak faster, you need to try to keep up with them. Now, me, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I struggle with this because I'm a fast talker. But I do, try to be mindful of that when I'm talking to, the group of people that we talk to, because it is, essential that they understand exactly what you're saying, right? If they use certain words like, oh, outstanding or awesome, you need to be trying to figure out how you can incorporate those same words, okay? Because we're the same today, Miss Kim, all right? If it's outstanding to you, baby, it's outstanding to me too, okay? If they say things like, we hear people say, oh, well, I already have life insurance. I wasn't looking for life insurance. I just wanted a little burial policy, right? Okay, great, Miss Kim. Hey, look, I'm not saying life insurance for the duration of, that call. I'm not saying life insurance anymore. From now on, it's going to be about that little burial policy that you want. I know it's a life insurance company, I'm only going to say life insurance when I have to repeat the name of the company. From now on, burial policy. Okay, well, hey, let me go ahead and tell you about the burial policies that we have that can protect that life insurance that you already have in place, Miss Kim. I got you. Another thing that you want to do is get them involved in a conversation. This is major. You don't want to be the person that's talking all the time. You're talking the most, you're losing. Get them involved, let them speak, listen to them. You want to listen attentively and you want to listen actively. Take good notes and use what they say against them, because that's what I do. For example, if you're asking about, just say a beneficiary, and they say, oh yeah, my daughter's gonna be my beneficiary. Oh, okay, what's your daughter's name? It's not a pause. It's not a, oh, well, do you mind telling me what your daughter's name is? Oh, well, it's nothing like that. It's gonna flow, very natural. Okay, what's your daughter's name? Okay, my daughter's name is Joanne. Great, great. So I like to share a piece of me. I asked you a question, you answer me. So let me give you something of me. So I'll say, oh, girl, I have a daughter too, Miss Kim. I'm a first time mom, 2-year-old little girl. And these girls are handfuls. And then most of the time, they'll chime in. By her, she may say something like, oh, what, baby, my daughter's, 45 now. I remember those days, and I let them share what they want to share. Sometimes I even go a step further, with the conversation and say, hey, by me being a first time mama, I know you've been through this thing, Miss Kim, a time or two. So you got any advice for me? Does it get any easier? Something like that to make them laugh, make them feel comfortable so they can open up more to me. So basically, you got to you have to, basically, you get a piece of them and you allow them to have a piece of you. Okay. It should never be one-sided to where they're just feeling like it's an interrogation session, so we do have to be mindful of that. It should feel like a natural conversation. It's not transactional. It's more like, you're talking to your favorite auntie, you're talking to your favorite uncle, cousin, just somebody that's going to feel familiar to them. I have people that I talk to on most days and they'll say, girl, I done told you my whole life story. Man, I just feel like I've been knowing you my whole life. And that's how you want them to feel, right? You want them to feel like family. So I was saying about, giving them a piece of you and them giving, you giving them a piece of you and them giving a piece of them. So how you do this, you want to ask them open-ended questions. This is important. Now, what are open-ended questions, right? So this is going to be like your what, your how, your when, your why. Okay. Basically, with these open-ended questions, we want to open up the lines of communications for both of us, right? Because these questions, they require more than a simple yes or no, right? It's kind of like with the fact finding. When we ask fact finding questions, we say things like, oh, do you want to be buried or cremated? Have you ever had to bury or cremate someone, on your own, where you were totally responsible for that, Miss Kim? And if so, how was that for you? That allows them to speak to you, to let you know what's going on. And to me, I feel like this is how you better find a solution for them. You know what I mean? Let them vent. Sometimes people, they need to get that off. You could be the only person that they've ever really even expressed that to, of how they felt. They may not have been able to talk to their family at that time to say, exactly the type of toll that it put on them, or the type of burden that it left them with. So I think it's really, really important that you do ask these open-ended questions, because they'll feel good about it. They'll feel good about what they're doing and know they're in good hands with you because you care, right? Dan Locke, a while ago, I had looked up this video, and he said that building rapport is like having a relationship bank, right? So it's like a bank. You can't just go to the bank and say, give me some money, right? Because that's robbery. So you can't do that. No, you can't do that. For people who thought you could do that, you can't do that. All right. So what you have to do is you have to deposit money before you can withdraw any money out of that relationship bank. So it's the same way in real life. You need to be able to add value, right? Keep depositing money into that bank first so that you can pretty much build up the reserve or the relationship capital so that you can have tons that you can withdraw later. You got to give something to receive something. We've all heard that before. And another thing, just please, y'all, make sure that we're having empathy. We're showing empathy and not sympathy, right? It is a difference. Sympathy pretty much involves, understanding your own perspective, but empathy, that's when you put yourself in the other person's shoes and understanding why that they may, have those particular feelings. Okay. So to show empathy, you want to use words or phrases like, oh, I see what you mean. I totally understand where you're coming from. And you want to be genuine and you want to gain their trust. Okay. It kind of goes back to the facts tell, stories sell. Hey, yes, Miss Kim. Hey, I know that you don't want that burden to fall on, Miss Joanne, like it did with your mom, with your mom and having to plan it and pay for her burial. So I can understand where you're coming from, being that I had to bury my dad myself, He didn't have any coverage, being in the military, he didn't understand exactly what that entailed of what would be included and what wasn't going to be included. So, I mean, I wouldn't put that on anybody, Miss Kim. I know you know firsthand because of what you had to go through with your mom. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm going to be able to help you today in making sure that Miss Joanne is okay, and that she's going to be set. All right. And because I've shared that with her, because I've shared my story, it's relatable, so Miss Kim will be able to feel that genuineness. And if you don't have a story, borrow somebody else's, rob and duplicate. We hear it all the time. So just borrow somebody else's story, something that they can find that, that they can relate to. As a matter of fact, I used to say, which I need to get back in the habit of saying, because I think it's actually really good. When we're talking about legacy, I used to say to people, previously, Miss Kim, the last thing you want to do, this is like right before you go over it. Hey, Miss Kim, the last thing that you want to do is have your daughter, Joanne, go into that funeral home and tell the funeral director exactly how much money she has on a policy for you. And do you know why? And then most of them, they go ahead and answer. They know what's coming if they've gone through this before. Yeah, because they'll try to take it all. I know how I go, baby. Yeah, that, or the thing about it is, Miss Kim, this is how I look at it. I shouldn't have to tell you how much money I have in order for you to tell me how much something costs. Am I right? Most people can relate to that. Oh yeah, you're right, baby. Hey, you're right. I never thought about it like that. Right. They should be able to just give you a price, Miss Kim, and you let them know if you can afford it or if you can't afford it. And if you can't, you let them know what you can afford. You know what, baby? I never thought about that, but you know what? I'm gonna make sure I tell my baby about that because they'll try to take that whole policy. I had that happen before. It just opens up the conversation a little bit more for you, to where you can get a little bit more out of it. Okay. In a nutshell, I mean, people, they buy from who they like and who they trust. So focus on building those relationships. Don't just rush by and try to, breeze past the slice app and just asking them the questions and that's it. I mean, if they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. Matter of fact, even Zig Ziglar says, that if people like you, they'll listen to you. He says, but if they trust you, they'll do business with you.